We're finally learning more about Qin Gang's mysterious disappearance, but unfortunately the CCP is spreading fake information to Western media. The reason they say is because of an anchor baby in the US. It's classic misdirection. Welcome to China Insider, I'm David Zhang. Today, the Wall Street Journal got an exclusive source or multiple sources from the CCP regarding the whereabouts of Qin Gang. Although it confirms what we know, it also introduced elements of confusion. So I'm here to assess the information and provide my analysis. First, it is confirmed that Qin Gang was not dead or dying due to health reasons, but rather under investigation. Here's what I seem to be skeptical of in terms of the report. Now, Wall Street Journal says that former Foreign Minister Qin Gang engaged in an extramarital affair that lasted throughout his tenure as the ambassador to the United States. And that affair birthed a U.S. citizen child, also known as an anchor baby. And the writing is directing people to believe that the main reason or the pure reason that Qin Gang was ousted is simply because he had an affair and that the baby is a U.S. citizen. Look, that's never the main reason, okay? Just like corruption. To just simply knock somebody off the party because of corruption, that's never happens. Although Xi Jinping has been doing the anti-corruption campaign for over 10 years, affairs is technically part of corruption, he's actually never eliminated it. Because, parts of it is due to the systemic corruption being too overwhelming, and that is part of the mode of operation for the CCP officials. But also the other part is that it's not the corruption itself that's driving the anti-corruption campaign. It is the removal of political enemies and internal party struggles that make up the main portion of it. So to suggest that Qin Gang falls to corruption or affairs would mean that 99.9% of all the CCP officials in China should just go sit in jail, because that's literally how the CCP operates. So same with having mistresses or US-born babies. It's not going to land them in trouble. There has to be a bigger problem here, such as potentially a loyalty issue or potentially try to attempt a coup against Xi Jinping. Those kind of things will draw them into trouble first. And the second skeptical detail for me is this, quote, the officials were further told that the probe found that Qin had engaged in an extramarital affair that led to the birth of a child in the US. So in other words, they found out about the affair after an investigation already took place, which means that something else led to the probing or the investigation in the first place. Again, this basically means that the child or the affair itself is the effect, but not the cause. What could possibly be the reason that Qin Gang was investigated in the first place? Well, there are many guesses. First is that maybe Qin Gang is tied to the Rocket Force purge. There could be issues related to the alleged intelligence leak from the PLA Rocket Force to the Americans, and that happened while Qin Gang was the ambassador in the United States. And it could also be possible that the woman in the affair, highly likely to be Fu Xiaotian, who is a former Phoenix TV anchor, is a double agent, or an agent of the Chinese intelligence, and she could have been the investigation itself to begin with, first over national security issues, because on her social media, she has not updated her status or tweeted anything since April this year, which coincides with her last message of her returning to China with the baby. Remember, Qin Gang disappeared from the public on June 25th, and he was officially replaced a month later on July 25th. And according to the Wall Street Journal's report, Qin Gang's investigation was made public within the party last month, which is in August. So it's been going on for a very long time. That means the issue is much bigger than what we're all knowing right now. And still to this day, Qin Gang remains a state councilor, which is a position that hasn't officially been voted out yet. And that's partly because of the official report on what really happened to Qin Gang hasn't come out either. Now, Fu Xiaotian, if she is tied to all of this, the only reason I can really think of as to why is if she is actually a spy for the Americans. In some way, it has offended the national security side of things in China. It's actually, it's very normal for Chinese anchors, especially female anchors, working overseas to engage in intelligence gathering, as they can approach many relatively high-profile people. Fu Xiaotian was able to interview leaders of different countries and important figures. Now, as the Wall Street Journal reported, the next step of Qin Gang's investigation focuses on the national security issues that would he have violated or would be part of. The reason why this was leaked to the journal is simply because, they have a baby in the United States. This could actually affect their ability to conduct the engagement aspect with Western officials. Well, these don't really work either because national security, we're thinking of intelligence, we're thinking of spying and espionage. It has to be something that really triggered the investigation in the first place. And that's why I say Fu Xiaotian could have been the real problem here. And the reason why I don't think the whole baby thing flies here is that we know all the CCP officials, including Xi Jinping's own daughter, has lavish lifestyles outside of China. They study in the best universities in the UK, the United States, and all over Europe. And since when has it been a problem for the CCP to send their offsprings to other countries and to live there? Right? If anything, Xi Jinping should be punished for his daughter living in a mega luxury apartment in New York City, right? And former top officials and diplomats, they all have houses and properties in US, elsewhere. I know there's ones in Washington, D.C. and New York. Plus, Qin Gang, prior to his promotion in December of 2022 to be the foreign minister, there should have been an extensive background check, including confessions from himself of his foreign dealings. So these are just common procedures. And if Qin Gang was truly problematic in this sense, like having an affair or foreign dealings, he probably wouldn't have been made foreign minister. So to suggest that the investigation is somehow tied to the son is a pure misdirection. And the only national security trouble I still think that could happen with Qin Gang ties back to either Fu Xiaotian or the rocket force. But simply because we know nothing about the real situation inside Beijing, it's very hard for us to get a concrete assessment as to what triggered it. And just as a thought, right? Because Qin Gang is promoted so fast, he and the missing defense minister, they're both favored by Xi Jinping. And Qin Gang's loyalty is unquestionable to me, at least to Xi Jinping. So I really don't see him engaged in a coup attempt or try to backstab Xi. So I lean more towards some sort of a mismanagement of either intelligence or when Qin Gang was an ambassador, something severe that happened truly affected him in a way. But that doesn't explain why Fu Xiaotian has been missing. And still, the big question for me is, where is she? She's been missing for a few months, haven't updated her social media, and she's likely the mother of that anchor baby and the mistress to Qin Gang. She could be the key to unlocking a lot of our speculations so far, right? She's been investigated as early as April, and then 2 months later, Qin Gang was pulled into the investigation again, or into this, right? So ultimately, a lot of this could be answered if we just know a little bit more about her whereabouts. I mean, ultimately, the trouble with China is that there's an opaqueness like never before, and its internal politics are harder to guess day by day. So we're not going to get anything decisively until we get the official notice. As of now, many of Xi Jinping's potential allies have been removed, so it is a threat to his own power. And given how we always have two reads into everything in China, let me give you some of the fun details to this. So you know how we've been talking about how Xi Jinping's crazy Stalin moments of purging people, right? And his personal obsession with prophecies. Well, it turns out if a pattern we have seen so far is true, then this might actually make sense. So what we've observed so far is that all of the people currently in trouble, whether that's the old rocket force generals, the missing defense minister, Qin Gang, the former foreign minister, or the Zhang, last named vice chairman of the military commission, they all have something in common. This time, their names in Chinese characters have either a sword or a bowl in them. Yeah, so take a look at my last name, right? Zhang or Zhang. In Chinese, it's spelled like this. So it has two parts. The left part is a bowl, and the right part means long. So my last name literally translates to long bow, right? So crazy Xi Jinping might think that, well, everybody last name Zhang or Zhang could be out to get them, especially the military generals. So they must all be purged according to the prophecy that he will be killed by an arrow or a projectile fired by a bow. Right? You could think of the missiles and stuff like that too. The rocket force also represents a bow and arrow. So that's a big no-no, right? Purge. And then there's also Qin Gang's name. His first name is Gang, which is in Chinese means iron or strong. But again, if you break up them into the parts, the left and the right part is a sword. So in the prophecy that calls for his demise over a projectile, there's also a line that says a golden sword will be essentially there to kill him. And this happened in the back-pushing map, or Tuibei 2, and that's the prophecy. Now, if you think about that, right, obviously Qin Gang is a loyal subject to Xi, but purely based on his own paranoia, Qin Gang's name could be a threat to Xi Jinping. Who knows? For all we know, that Taiwan could also be one, right? They could be aiming projectiles at Beijing or something. The point is that we shouldn't fall for the CCP's clear misdirections and deceptions, but it also highlights for us something that China is going through, which is deliberately a one-person paranoia kind of controlling his entire decision making, and that's coming into effect as we speak. Now, the article is deliberately trying to push a lot of things towards that it is a simple moral issue or corruption issue in the mistress for Qin Gang, but downplaying the potential of a much bigger party-wide power struggle, or in my view, potentially Xi Jinping's suspicion of people. Who knows? The CCP has always used journalists and different news outlets to spread bogus information or to carry the message of a certain faction within the party. So never to fully trust what's being reported on those information as they're being revealed. It's a narrative that the CCP wants us to hear and is trying to build around this issue. And so nothing is purely true in this sense. All right, that's it today for the episode on whereabouts of Qin Gang, some updates from the Wall Street Journal, and my assessment and analysis into the issue. If you enjoy the content, leave a like, comment below your thoughts on today's topic, and also subscribe to our channel. As always, thank you so much for watching today. I'm David Zhang. We'll see you next time.